story of my life right off the bat. I think I'm definitely an oversharer. I share a lot on social media of just my day to day, about my job, about my relationship and my moving and things like that. And people message me and they're like, "Wow, like it seems so cool. How did you get there?" I'm like, "Yeah, it seems cool, and it is." But of course, social media is a highlight reel too. I'm like, there's a lot behind the struggles of the great stuff that I post about.
You're listening to Clear Inner Focus's Expanding Voices, where your host, Patty Jackson, and her guests share inspiration, real human stuff, and the thrill of confidently standing in expanded self-expression.
You're listening to episode 6, How to Support a Millennial's Journey of Becoming Your Own or Your Child, with Jessica Johnson of Shift Happens podcast. Jessica and I dig in deep and talk about podcasts, relationships, and the journey of growing and becoming more, with some of the messy stuff in between. Let's jump right in.
Yeah, it's fun to be on the other side of kind of an interview conversation. My name is Jessica Johnson. I'm 26 years old, living in downtown Milwaukee. Currently, I am the community and marketing manager for Yelp here in Milwaukee. So I do a lot of working with local businesses. I connect with the users on Yelp itself, a lot of promotional stuff. Really fun, requires a lot of interaction with just people. Definitely pays to be an outgoing personality. And then my passion project on the side is my podcast, Shift Happens podcast, with two of my girlfriends. We started that a year ago now. It was January is when we really got everything started for 2019. And we titled it Shift Happens because a large basis of the conversation was, or still is, kind of shifting towards a more mindful way of living, kind of coinciding with just the shift from our late teens, early 20s to now, our later 20s, even just how 3 or 4 years can make such a difference in just every part of your being, and just kind of like a journey that we've been on. And we thought it would be fun to share with people and hopefully help anyone that listens to us, which is crazy because now we have so many strangers that reach out to us. It's really fun. So yeah, that is my passion project on the side. And then I just bought a condo, which is very exciting for me, a long time coming. I have lived in probably 9 apartments since graduating high school, just moving and changing. I'm really happy to have a sense of ownership in a home now, with my husband. So that's kind of my life.
For you, what does a passion project mean?
So I feel like a lot of, especially millennials, we start these, side projects, or it's like a side hustle, and you have to make money and all this stuff. And yes, it would be great to put more effort into monetizing it, but because it's just a passion, and the three of us don't really need any money to make it happen. It's really just our feelings and our will to want to talk about things that makes it come to fruition. And it is a lot of work. So that's why you definitely need to be passionate about it, to not be monetizing it and spending your hours outside of your regular workday to do it. But yeah, definitely a passion. Now, especially that we're getting feedback and people are saying, "Wow, that resonated with me so much," or "Thank you so much for, bringing up topics that are taboo or people aren't, maybe willing to talk about." And I'm a very open book, so I'm more than happy to at all contribute to the conversation. So it's been really fun for sure.
Wow. So you're doing the passion, and it also sounds like it's feeding you because you're getting the feedback too. So not only because the passion itself is there, but you're now getting the feedback. And I know there's so much value in that.
Mm-hmm.
Making money, you're making money somewhere else. But to give and receive, like recognition and knowing you're making a difference in the world,
yeah,
is so energizing. Do you find that it actually contributes to your work?
Yeah, it's crazy. Part of the passion is we interview guests for most of our episodes. So it's just constant connections with different kinds of humans and different workspaces and different mindset spaces that really just like opens up my mind. As much as an open-minded person I think I am already, it just brings in different viewpoints of things that ways I never thought about things, or career paths that, maybe I would go down one day that's really interesting to me. And when we do some local podcasting with people in Milwaukee, it's definitely just good connections in the city. Since I work with so many local businesses, it's really just building relationships. I'm like all down with networking, and that's so much what it is. It just kind of intertwines. And then in my relationship too, I kind of have a balance of how much I not push on my husband, Jono, push on him, but I learn a lot of things, and I'm just so open-minded that I kind of bring that into our relationship. This is what I learned, or what do you think about this conversation that I had today? And it definitely just adds some different elements that probably wouldn't have existed had I not got some other insight from people.
I love that, because being married 30 years, it's this person is here. And if I'm not learning anything new and he's not learning anything new, then where's the newness? Where do you bring newness, And so
absolutely.
How fun to be doing these things, getting some new ideas, and then expanding conversations with him to get him to be in that mindfulness, self-awareness, like, I wonder what's true for me today.
Yeah, it's been, it's funny. I remember there was a little bit of a turning point. We've been married 3 years. So I got married young, I guess. I was 23 when we got married, and we had been dating a few years before that. And I remember just kind of a turning point of him being like, you're not like I'm changing for any better or worse, but because I was just shifting in my life. When we met, we were in college and partying and this and that. And so many things came to be important to me in the last few years, and just my self-growth. And obviously in a marriage, he's seen me change and develop. And you're right, it's expanded our conversations. And as much as sometimes I poke too much, I know he does appreciate and has said, that he loves how open-minded I am, and I bring a lot to, thoughts that he wouldn't normally have. So yeah, it's been really nice.
I know that feeling of poking too much and realizing, whoa, time to pull back, That's not his passion. This is my passion. And how do I pull back enough and yet support myself then? And like, wow, I really want to know these things and be this. But it sounds like the podcast is a place where you can go real deep with people who will go as deep or wherever you want to go. And
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be with everyone.
Absolutely. That's the best part. And the two girls that I do it with, we're just very like-minded in that way. I mean, I have so many friendships with lots of different men, women, but the two girls are just kind of on the same journey of wanting to discuss different kinds of things like that with me and with guests. So it's really nice that we're all just kind of on that same page. It's my safe space to bring up anything I want to bring up, which we happen to record. And then if people want to listen, that's great. Which is fun too, because there's been some episodes that my husband will have listened to, and it kind of takes me having to explain things to him in real life, or again, maybe I feel like I'm pushing on things, but he gets to hear my thoughts externally, if that makes sense. So sometimes I'm like, you should maybe listen to this episode, it's a good one, and he'll get some stuff out of it that way, which is really cool. So certain episodes, he's like, I don't need to listen to the menstruation episode, I'm good. but
I don't want to know any more about that.
Yeah, but some of the other ones, he'll listen to, and ebbs and flows for sure. I don't want to force feed him.
That's pretty cool. What I have found to be true is something that's really great in a relationship is that you're willing to grow together. I believe we're all in self-growth. We're always constantly growing. And when one person in a relationship grows, if the other one's willing to understand that and also learn and grow with, it makes for a really sustainable, wonderful lifetime together. It's when one person grows or one person needs to grow and the other one knows that person needs to grow because what they're doing is hurting the relationship. And that person says, I don't care. But what I find fascinating is that they're still going to need to grow.
So they just don't know
break up and go somewhere else and start all over. And that it's still mandatory. Our personal growth is not optional. Because if you stay stuck, life is going to suck. And it just keeps coming at you until finally I get on my knees and say, okay, I need to learn this. I've got to stop doing what I'm doing. It's time to grow. And so I love that you're starting off in a 3-year marriage with him seeing you grow, and then you having great conversations and connecting and learning and growing together too.
He's very supportive. Like you had said, if, as long as the other person is understanding and willing to like be there, maybe they don't need to be all every part of it. There's plenty I do that he doesn't need to be a part of, or thoughts I have that he doesn't need to hear, but he's supportive of me needing that. And that's what's amazing. And he agrees on plenty of things and where he needs to change and grow too. There's plenty of times where he'll bring something up or talk about something the way that he would do it in the past. And I was like, well, that's great, but you were 18 and 19 when you did that. You're 28 years old now. It's
right.
Processes are different, and it's kind of helping him, giving him that nudge too, as best that I can.
So the podcast is Shift Happens, and you're showing him the shift did happen and now it's real. And today you aren't the same person you were back then, because when shifts happen, they happen, and you can't unlearn what you learned.
Exactly.
Once you
you cannot.
You can't unknow it. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a really cool part about the shift happens, is it does happen. And then when you're standing here, it's real, it's new, and you can't go back to it.
Exactly. There's some things I try to go back. I mean, even just as little as going out with friends, partying or whatever it is. And just, I have this innate feeling now, I'm like, that's just not in me as much as I want to maybe go hang out with friends I would have in the past, or, do those things. I'm like, it's not all into that. I'm in the back of my mind, I'm just moving forward. And it's really hard to want to do something that's negative on my health or my well-being and things like that. Yeah. You can't forget.
And like those sustainable relationships, then, if we used to party really much together and now I don't really want to be that person anymore, is that friend going to be willing to work with me till we find a new way to connect? Because I think we can always find new ways to connect with other people, and it's a win-win for both. But is it worth your time and effort to find that new way to connect with that person? Or is it best for you to take your time and effort and just connect deeper with yourself and the people that are presenting themselves right in front of you?
That's such a good topic of conversation, because I've gone over and over in my head with a lot of that sometimes, in terms of like feeling guilty that some of my relationships haven't stayed as strong since college, or with like female relationships. And I'm like, is it because I'm changing and they don't want to change, or am I not putting enough effort in? Because I definitely, think there's large importance in female friendships. So I want to, harness all those. But I've definitely accepted now that I have different friends for different reasons, and it's just changed. It's just completely, and that's just what it is. And it's totally fine with me. And yes, I agree. There's some friends I connect with on a different level now that was totally different than 5 years ago. And I just have to kind of be okay with that and not beat myself up over it, or that maybe I'm not getting invited to do as much because they know that's just not for me. I shouldn't be offended. Like, that's the truth, So I've gone over and over that in my head a lot. So
yeah. And I think that is part of the real human stuff that everyone does. And so I love that your voice is out there and you're sharing this, because once people know that it's normal human stuff, wait, it's not just me. When I'm coaching with people, so many times I'll hear these two things. I know it's me. I know there's something wrong with me, or I wish I would have realized this years ago. And you can't know things until you're ready to know them. And it's not just you. And when you ask great questions like you're doing, like that's the mindfulness in action. Asking questions and then hearing the answer, wait a minute. Just need to realize that's not your friendship anymore. I have different friends for different reasons, and you hear that answer and it feels great. That's when it really lands and is great to understand that shifts happened, and good job, self. You shifted, and other people do come around and shift around us in time.
For the right reasons.
For the right reasons and in the right time. And if they can't come around, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with them. They're doing their own growth somewhere else with other little people they get to play the growth and fun and love game with. At least that's how I've been seeing it and what I'm hearing from you and the exploration you're doing with yourself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It pretty much hit the nail right on the head.
So how fun to talk with you. I had no idea we were going down this road. That's what I love about this. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if I would love to hear your story of your 18, 19, and like how somewhere along the line, you 3 women decided, oh, we're ready to do this. Let's go. I mean, was that brewing for a long time? Were all 3 of you ready at different times? How did it work?
Um, well, so we started the podcast about a year ago, and um, I think we had all been friends. Two of us were a little bit closer, and then the third one, we just kind of were all discussing like, man, I don't want to party anymore. I want to focus on my career, and we just kept having very similar mindset type conversations. And I think, we loved listening to podcasts ourselves and reading. We were the kind of people who read up on like wellness books or things like that we really liked. So it was just very like-minded in that space. And it actually turned out that someone we knew was doing like a podcast course, like kind of how to. And we were like, wow, could we actually do this? That would be so awesome. If we could let's just try. We'll just see what happens. Let's kind of make it up along the way. So we purchased the equipment, and we kind of went along, and it just started snowballing so much quicker than we thought. And people were so willing to speak to us that we were shocked about. So it just kind of kept happening and getting bigger and getting bigger, which is amazing. But to kind of go back to what you had originally asked about, college, 18, 19, 20, and just how different it was for me then in my head and my space as to now. Oh God, it's just so night and day. I remember just like most college kids, like I just beat myself up mentally, physically, emotionally. I was drinking a lot. I was not getting enough sleep at all. I was taking Adderall, like too much of it. Like granted, I was prescribed to it, but that just no. I'm so against that now. It was just killing me. I had extreme anxiety, really bad anxiety. I had my first panic attack in college. I think I was a sophomore or junior. And I remember, oh my God, it was like the craziest experience of my life. Like I was like blacking out. I was having that bad of a panic attack, and I had lived with 4 of my girlfriends at the time, and it took them like 2 hours to like calm me down and take care of me. And I just remember the following week, like, what is my issue? Like, why? What are all these things? Oh, because I'm staying out so late. Oh, because I'm overtaking a drug that's just extreme to the brain, in my opinion. Not sleeping, not exercising, eating the worst foods, probably intermittently, like dieting or, fluctuating, all those things in college. And I just felt horrible. I was in what I would call an emotionally abusive relationship for a few years in college. It was all just like battering down on me. And it wasn't until close to the end of probably my senior year of college, I was 21, and that's when I had met Jono, my now husband, and started being in a relationship that was so good for me, and it made me feel really cared about and loved. And it took me a long time I kind of had crossed over with my negative relationship in Jono's. It was all kind of mixture, and I finally let go of the other one and was with someone who, treated me really well. And then I think as my self-worth felt better, it gave me a little more permission to take care of myself in all the other ways that I needed to. I started eating better. I started working out. I mean, fast forward now, working out is like my vice. I work out like at least 5 or 6 days a week. I love it. I can't believe I never did before. What was I missing in college? So yeah, I think there was just that kind of turning point, and then, college ended and I needed to get a job. So, that was really the beginning of a shift of feeling better about myself or realizing I deserved better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd attribute a good amount of that to my now husband, who just helped me realize that for sure.
Wow, that's a powerful story. And as a mom of now 4 kids that are over 22 and good friends with a lot of people who have friends, kids in the becoming years, I think this story is really common. The story of becoming and the story of like outside and inside stuff. But what I loved, that pivotal part of that was that anxiety attack or whatever it was caused you to start asking incredible questions. And you said, what is the cause of this? What is going on? What am I doing? And you started becoming aware of everything you were doing. Right?
Yep. Oh
But
yeah.
what I know is when I work with people, people start becoming aware of what they're doing. And one of the things that they do then when they become aware of what they're doing is they start beating themselves up for bad behavior.
Oh
And
yeah.
that thwarts everything. And it can make it even worse and worse. And I believe that what happens when growth happens is that, and I want to see if this has anything to do with what happened for you. And then I'm going to ask you an important question for parents who are watching kids, because that's where I'm working with people
Mm-hmm.
in the struggling and in the becoming. When we become aware and then start beating ourselves up, sometimes people, and I'll be working with people in their 40s and 50s, they then get into the habit of beating themselves up and then start beating themselves up for beating themselves up. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I shouldn't be so hard on myself. What's wrong with me? And just compound those layers. And then growth can be really thwarted for years and years. It can be like sticking your finger in the light socket. Every time you
Mm-hmm.
try to move forward, because all of that inside game's going on.
Yep.
But I believe that when you can start letting things in from the inside, it's because we at least made a little window and from the outside, like being able to be in a relationship with your husband. It's because we at least opened the window to starting to be kinder and gentler to ourselves. Somewhere in there. And I don't know if that's true for you and your story, but I'm fascinated to find out. So when you became aware of all these things that you were doing, did you find yourself beating yourself up for doing those things and going down that road? Or did you find a way to just go, oh, that's what I'm doing. I can do something about this.
I think so it took a while. So yeah, maybe when I started realizing what was going on and why,
Mm-hmm.
then I would start beating myself up over why am I not fixing it, or I would do something small and then take 10 steps back,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And I honestly, I think age has a huge factor in what was going on. There was just a lot of pressure to do what my friends wanted to do, or like, I lived with so many girls and it was what everyone was doing. If I didn't want to be part of something, then I would just go along with it, even in the back of my head. Now I'm paying attention
Mm-hmm.
to, maybe it's not a great idea, maybe I don't need to go out 5 nights a week when I have an exam at 6 o'clock, or at 8 o'clock in the morning, and things like that. And then I would start to beat myself up over it, because now I'm
Mm-hmm.
paying attention a little more.
Right.
So it was definitely like a year or two of that back and forth, like, why am I, yeah, 2 steps forward to 5 steps back kind of thing.
Yeah. But that's that self-awareness and
Hmm.
being aware of it and paying attention to it. And
Yeah.
I've seen change, like when kids learn to walk, they'll like be able to walk a lot one day and then they'll go backwards. They'll go crawling for a lot of days because it's faster and easier. Or
Hmm.
they'll have days where they only can take 2 steps when they were like, so even when babies are learning to walk, they have that backwards.
Hmm.
But that's why I love the shift happens, because
Yeah.
when people know shift happens, and once you start to shift, even
Yep.
if you go backwards 10 steps, there's a forward, and there's a
Hmm.
propensity to get there.
Hmm.
But when
Oh,
people focus on the
absolutely.
shift and the growth and know it's normal to go backwards, yet the growth is happening, it makes the journey so much easier.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I definitely just hit a point of um starting to not care so much. I mean, I would like to say I'm a pretty confident person. I'm pretty confident in myself. I'm very independent and things like that. And that really came to fruition around that time when I was like, I don't need validation from A, the shitty relationship I was in, B, my friends who wanted to do this, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't, once I got past the point of being like, okay, I don't care if you're mad that I'm not doing this. It just started to build and build. And I was like, I don't need anyone's validation. Well, of course, everyone, even to this day, it's great to feel validated, but it was just, that was definitely part of the turning point too. I was like, I'm going to make my own decisions. I'll be good. Like,
Right.
so that was a very prominent time.
Would you say that was shifting because you were now validating yourself? You were listening to yourself. You were starting to become more aware and love and be okay.
Mm-hmm. I'd say so. I was also dabbling with, starting to journal and write things out or speak out loud, which I'm still not great at, like to myself. It's still kind of weird, but it started to help me to just listen to myself versus I was always in such a hurry to go do the next thing and all this stuff that I never really stopped to like give myself time to think. And I think that's where, when I started getting into listening to podcasts, started changing too, because I was in my thoughts more. I was hearing other people's conversations without participating in the conversation. So I got to think about it more, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of, along with that same area of shift too.
I think it's fascinating. So part of listening to other people's conversations, and instead of saying something back right away, I call that integrating, bringing it into your own inner greatness, and be able to say, wait, what do I think in this?
And that without having to actually say it, because I get caught up in, like a lot of people, you're maybe not listening all the way because you're thinking of the next thing you're going to say or the right thing to say. And that's why I think podcasting is awesome. You're just listening, and then you get to think about it in your own thoughts. You don't have to respond.
Oh, for all the people that listen to it, it's kind of like training them to listen and put it into their own thoughts and not have to talk back. I never thought about that. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I constantly need practice with that because I'm a very, I'm a assertive. My personality is very like controlling. Like I'm very, like I always want to insert myself into everything and add to the background conversation. So it's even training myself every day constantly to just listen and sit back a little bit, which is definitely an ongoing practice for me.
I know that one. So in the beginning of life coaching careers, there's a lot of things about work-life balance. And today I'm pretty much like, wait, it's do you balance. Like every gift of being a person is a gift. Inserting yourself is a gift, but balance it, only use it when it truly is a gift. And learning how to balance and be connected to the core of me. So when I'm coming out, I can be proud of what I'm sharing. Balancing bringing the information in and knowing when to bring it out. And so that's my fun new thing now, is like the most important thing is to be able to balance all these gifts that we each carry within ourselves and love ourselves when we're out of balance so we can more easily get back into balance.
Yeah, that's such a prominent topic for me. I definitely call myself a very stressed and chaotic brain. I'm really hard on myself trying to balance so many things. I think I'm very like obsessive compulsive about like things being in place and clean, and just, I don't know, I feel like I put a lot on my plate often, and then I'm hard on myself when I'm overwhelmed or stressed. So stress management is my biggest learning curve right now, or just forever.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what. So one of the fun things is when you see the pattern like that, this is what I do and this is the pattern. If you look at it and accept it, because there's a gift in it, right?
Yeah.
And then ask yourself, but if I want the pattern to be different, what pattern would I rather have? It's what you already did, Jessica. It's what you already did. You saw the pattern of you in school. You had the panic attack. And then you looked at the pattern of what was going on. And then you took your time to build a new pattern. And now you're living it. but now you're aware of a new pattern.
Yeah. Very true. I guess I never thought about it like that.
And so if it wasn't that I'm obsessive compulsive about everything being in order, what would you like the pattern to be so that it was balanced?
It's funny because I like that I'm so orderly. That's the thing. I think it's a great aspect of just like a personality trait. I'm very on top of things. I'm really good at my job for that reason. My job requires so much balance and organization and timing and scheduling. And I love that I'm that way. I think I just would prefer, I don't know, maybe I need to tell myself I'm happy about that more often, because instead I kind of beat myself up saying, okay, chill, you're so like crazy, like you just need to relax. Like I'm kind of instead of saying it in a more kind way, I guess.
Great awareness. And like to challenge that, do I really need to relax?
Yeah. Guess I never really thought too much about it.
But I love it. You could just tell yourself, wait a minute, I like being this way. It's my gift. This is my gift.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while, we don't have to be our gift. And when it says you need to relax, you can go, wait, do I need to relax? And if the answer is yes, that's when it's so cool, because people then can relax and enjoy relaxing instead of beating themselves up for relaxing.
Right. Just being mindful enough to think about it and then make the decision and then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely that pause in the middle that I need to practice for sure.
And it's fun because, again, here it is, you're listening to yourself. I saw your eyes like rolling around, you're listening to yourself. You're like, oh, this could be a new shift. This can be a new thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. You notice when you heard that, do you notice anything going on in your body? Like, what if I could?
Nervousness, I think, of just the kind of accepting of something, and having to think about it. I think that's a lot of the reason I and many people shut things out, because it's easier to just not think about it.
So,
or find you have to spend time kind of analyzing it, and that can be scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. But what if even right now you didn't have to analyze it? You could just like give yourself permission to be really organized and love yourself and that gift of it.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And what if the analysis was done? And then when it's time to relax, that part of you that you've been listening to that says it's time to relax, you could listen to it and trust it more.
Yeah. Instead
knowing
of
you'll come back
beating
out
myself. Yeah, absolutely. Because I do come back out again. I'm, when I finally do allow myself to relax or turn my brain off a little bit, you're right. I always come back. I just need to remind myself that I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if that's it? What if now it's done? The shift happened. Now go do it.
That'll be great if I can implement it for sure.
Cool. So fun. And I know that one. And that again is totally such normal human stuff. People who are driven and get things done and love connecting with people and love, seeing all the changes and love that high energy stuff, often do have a hard time being it, because it's different and it is a gift and it can look like something's wrong. And then B, when it's time to stop and really slug out and really let yourself just relax, it's really common for that. But what I really want to know is, I'm working with parents of young adults, and so many of them get so worried when they see their kids in the growth cycle. And they can see, oh, they need to do this and they need to learn this and they need to learn this. And they'll respond either by poking too hard, pushing the answer on them too hard, or going back home and worrying and worrying and worrying, so that anytime that kid comes around, the questions are just backed with that worry, which I believe can add to the length of time it takes for that person to grow. Yeah. And also the last response is to just ignore it and pretend like it doesn't exist. And, oh no, there's no problem. But really they're like if I look at it, I'm going to be really freaked out. So I'm just going to pretend I don't see it.
Yeah.
And what would you like to tell parents of millennials who are becoming like you did, and you continue to, and that you're being self-aware, and when it's time, you'll do that next thing of growth? What do you think parents would benefit from knowing?
I first and foremost, let them, whatever it is, whatever path it is, just let it happen, because I think trying to interject and change it based on what you think as a parent is just going to add pressure and stress the kid out, or the millennial out. I can't even put into words how much I appreciate my relationship with my parents. We are definitely friends. Like, I would call, as much as they're my parents, we have a really good friendship, and that goes along with the conversations we have, the openness that it is, them letting me go along with crazy idea. I, in terms of my career, I remember, so right out of college, I went into a administrative assistant job at a really, really great company. Great career path. There was room for growth. It was, all the things that you think, it's just great intro, keep going. And I hit a point about 3 years in, I was like, this is not for me. I'm no passion behind this. I can't go to work anymore. This is just, I'm starting to feel miserable. And I was, bringing my parents in on the story and saying, I need to quit. There's this other job I think I want, major pay cut, not a really great company. And it was, in black and white, to a parent, it's like, what? That's the backwards decision. I was going backwards, 100%. And they were super supportive. And I think it was the encouragement of them saying and making it clear, like, we are behind you. We trust your decisions. Those kinds of affirmations that just made me feel like, okay, so I can do it. Like, I know I can, but it's really helpful when I have my support system, kind of pushing me along. And I dove into that job, and I was only there for about 6 or 8 months, which I think typically another red flag, kind of, you should stay with a company for at least a year. That looks bad on your resume. Just all these like kind of maybe flagged things. And I was just like, I'm gonna do this. This is my stepping stone. And then Yelp's position came open, and I quit my job before I even got my Yelp job. And I definitely had said over and over to my parents, I know this isn't typical, like, I feel like I'm, being looked at like this is very taboo, like what I'm doing. And it was their reassurance, like, you'll be fine. Like, you have it, you got it. So kind of going back to what I said in the beginning, just let them do what it is. Obviously, if it's some crazy skewed, there's situations, but I think it's just, again, the affirmations and the comfortability I had, which being able to talk about it, whatever the situation was, just, it's a conversation. It's not a one-sided them yelling at me, and it's not a one-sided me telling them I know everything. It's a mutual relationship, and I've valued that with my parents more than I can say, for sure.
That is so beautiful. I have chills on that. And what's so great about it is I hear the pervasive message is we trust you. We trust you in listening to your heart. We trust you in following your journey. We trust you in knowing what's best for you. We trust you in your ability to navigate this world. And we trust the world in its ability to celebrate your gifts.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Trust is the number one. And I think that's foundation from the beginning. I mean, I have a really great relationship with them. I grew up in my teens and those annoying years where I was maybe more rebellious and things like that, doing all those things, but again, able to talk about them. I didn't have helicopter parents. They weren't extremely strict. They didn't put these crazy limits on things that I wanted to break open. It was just this medium. And then when something did go wrong, it was conversational, and that was like the foundation from the beginning. And now, I mean, I can't say how much I appreciate that. And then you can go into it calmly, knowing even if you mess up, it's like, okay, we're going to talk it out. Like, it'll be okay.
Wow. So for any millennial who's listening, if you don't have a parent like that, I want you to know you can be that parent for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes parents from the outside can't do that. They're so worried about things. They focus on worry instead of trust, and
Yep.
that's normal. But I know that everyone can become even without that if they become that for them. In the psychology world and in the coaching world and in the spiritual growth world that I'm in, there was this big surgence of the inner child and listening to the inner child. And I get it. There's a little part of all of us that says, yeah, but I want this, and to listen to that. But I was pretty adamant about, but you've got an inner adult too. And when you
Mm-hmm.
can't get it from the outside, you can be that big person that says, wait a minute, you're okay. You're becoming. I trust you. I trust that you can figure this out, even if it's hard. You know, if you're aware that you want change, the shift already happened. And now there's going to be a journey, one step forward, 10
Mm-hmm.
back, until finally it balances into the next area.
Yeah, definitely awareness, excuse me, is the word that stuck out to me the most when you were just speaking, because I think, it's again, it's the mindfulness and the awareness that if it is up to you to channel your inner adult and do those things, it's pausing to actually think about it. And again, not just pushing forward and pushing quickly so on to the next, it's just stopping, and I don't think people do that enough. I certainly don't. I'm always working on that. But yeah, just being really conscious.
Yeah. So do you have friends that are highly helicoptered? And is there a message that you'd like them to know?
Oh yeah, I definitely have friends that are highly helicoptered, and there's no right or wrong situation. I think my situation with my parents is kind of unique, to be honest. My friends say that, but I have plenty of them that, yeah, don't maybe have the best relationship with their parents. And I think they're coming to the point now where they don't need their parents' permission, because when it's not a great relationship, like, well, my mom wants me to do this, but I don't want to, like this. And it's like, it's battling, and it's kind of separating it now. And I
Mm-hmm.
would definitely say that to people who are struggling with it, and my friends that are still struggling with it. If that's the case, if it's always like this, I knowing you're going to make the decision you're going to make, whether they are behind you or not,
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of move forward. Otherwise, it's just going to go forever. Look, not making my parents happy, and then you'll beat yourself up over it. You just got to be confident in the decision you're making. There's a reason you're making it and the path that you want to go.
Right. And I love that there is no right and wrong. And I know helicopter parents and such. And obviously everyone is, I'm sure I am to some extent. I did tell my kids it's their job, if I'm ever doing that, to hold me back and say, I've got this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really helpful. But there is no right and wrong in it. But I do think that there comes a time when you get to that painful part of like, I want to make myself happy, but I don't want my happiness to make my parents sad.
Yeah.
And what I know to be true is I'm responsible for my happiness. And if I live my life wanting my kids to make me happy, I'm screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And when they stand up for themselves and say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it this way, eventually we both win.
Mm-hmm. I love
Because then I
that.
can redevelop real adult friendship relationship with them instead
Yep.
of the, oh no, I'm worried about them, I have to take care of them. Oh no, I'm worried about them, I have to throw more money at them. Oh no, I need some money myself and I can't because I'm that cycle.
Yeah, definitely. The adult relationship and being looked at as an adult and treated like one, even though, of course, everyone's kids are their kids to a parent forever, we're always going to be your kid, but treating me and communicating with me as an adult and teaching me in that way is, I mean, it's all about how you say it.
Yeah.
It's not always what you say. It's definitely the way it's delivered, and
Right.
massive difference.
Yep. What's behind it? What's behind it? Is it really trust, or is it worry masked as trust? There's a big difference, huge difference.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Well, so now we have covered pretty much a lot about relationships in this. Go figure. What about your podcast that you're excited about? Is it growing? Is it, where are you at with it? Where can people find you? What's happening?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. 2020 is going to be a great year. We have just become a lot more confident, even in the last couple of months. Like I said, when we started, we're like, we don't know what's happening. And now people are coming to us and asking us to teach them, or how did you do it? So it just made us feel great in that we're moving in the right direction. We have a lot of really exciting guests coming. Along with our confidence has come the willingness to reach out to people that we never thought would say yes, and they're saying yes, and we're like, wow, this person's really going to come talk to us. So a lot of good stuff coming. And then we are having a live podcast event in February, on February 20th, which we are so excited about. We are asked to do it at a location downtown Milwaukee at this beautiful event space. So we'll be having, it'll be a ticketed event. You'll come, there's food and drinks, and you can watch us record live and interview someone live, and kind of whole networking thing.
Wow.
Just
Is
right
it
up
in a
my
sound
alley.
booth? Are you in a sound booth and people can watch from the outside, or how do they keep the outside noise from being in your podcast?
No, it's really just kind of like a front stage, like you would watch anything else. It's the equipment. We actually invested in expensive equipment, which is really sound powerful. It blocks out a lot of other noise. Our producer is coming, and he's amazing and does all of our sound for us. So he's getting us some extra equipment for that event specifically. That'll be a little different, but no, it'll really be us. And then the couple we're interviewing, and the audience can interact and have their questions. And we're just really excited about it. And
Wow, that is a really fun venue.
Yeah, it'll be really cool. So yeah, we are Shift Happens Podcast, and we are on Apple, Spotify, and Google Play. Otherwise, our website, shifthappenspod.com, and on Instagram, Shift Happens Pod, and all those things link to everything else. So we're an easy
For the
find.
people looking, the F is in parentheses because the other stuff happens too, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That is our coined, if you listen to our intro, it really is, the shift towards a more mindful way of living, and then just the messiness that goes along with it, and all the mess ups along the way. That's really, because when you hear us talk about our day to day, there's plenty of not pretty stuff, just life. So.
And I love it because it's a message of acceptance of there is going to be messiness along the way. I call it the normal human stuff, the real human stuff. It's there too. And we can stand in our growth, but it doesn't mean that we're denying that it wasn't hard to get here.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Definitely to reiterate that a million times over. I mean, I can't even say it enough. Like I said, I'm quite the overshare on social media, and recently we've been redoing our condo, and I was posting about it, and someone messaged me like, oh my gosh, you guys do such cool stuff, like can't believe we have a condo and this and that. I'm like, thank you, like love you, blah blah, but I've been so stressed out. Like I mean I said that in response to him. I was like, I can't even tell you adulting with a mortgage and all this stuff, and what it takes to build the construction. So if anyone says anything like that, I'm more than happy to explain that it's not all roses.
So it's the anti social media platform of, it's beautiful here, and this was the hard part, so that it balances it.
Yeah, definitely. I try to do that, and I wouldn't call myself an influencer by any means, but I've just, in the fact that people respond to things that I do, I would rather just be more transparent than surface level. If people are going to respond, it's better for them to know the whole story. I know that's what I appreciate about the people I follow, or the videos I watch, or the vloggers, or the podcast. I'm like, I get the most out of the real stuff, the raw stuff, more than the shiny outside.
That's awesome. So I contacted you because I like to look at thought leaders, people who have some thoughts and they really want to share the full part of their voice and what it takes to continue to move forward and be a growing, expanding human, and then share that voice out. So I want to celebrate that you said yes to it, that you are willing to share. And I'm not going to give you overshare. I'm just going to say very boldly share it all.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you asking me. That means a lot. It makes me feel like I'm where I want to be and in the right kind of direction for someone to ask me to come on and talk.
Excellent. That's what I wanted, because you're in a really good place. It's really exciting to have another friend listening to your Instagram thing and hiring one of your people to help. I hear it from my kids that they're listening. And so it's an honor for me to be able to spotlight you for a minute so you can see you are where you want to be. And there's more.
There's more.
The shift, and they're coming.
Yes.
So let's bring it on, right?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Thank you for joining us today. You can learn more about Patty and Clear Inner Focus coaching, classes, workshops, and coach certification at clearinnerfocus.com. Please subscribe to our channel and keep the conversation going by adding your thoughts, questions, and experiences in the comments section below.